Excuse me.
All right. So we talked before we went on our little Easter break where we skipped a week. We talked about before we start our next uh, book of the Bible, doing 1 week of something just a little different, just to try it out. And so this week we're going to try out, it's called Ignatian Contemplation, which is a practice that was developed by Ignatius of Loyola. Um, and it's the idea of entering into a Bible story and imagining yourself as part of it. And so try not to think about what does this particular word mean, or what was the author trying to do. This is just you're reading it as a story and you're experiencing it. And so what we'll do is we're going to use the gospel that's for this coming Sunday, which if you'd like to open it up in a Bible, it's Luke 24:13 through 35. Um, this is the road to Emmaus is the story.
Oh, that's a great one.
Luke 24.
Luke 24:13 through 35.
Thank you.
And what we'll do is I will read the passage and one time through, and then I'll ask some questions and kind of lead us in a meditation through the story. And if you would like, you can jot down notes to yourself, or you can just kind of think things through in your head. I can grab paper for anyone who would like it, who's in this room. Charity's got it covered.
Thanks very much. Got a piece of paper.
I have. Jackie's prepared.
He's prepared. Shit makes me sick.
It's hard.
I'm sorry, where in Luke again, please?
I
24, chapter 24, verses 13 through 35.
Thank you.
I can get more if I need more.
And so so that all of you can focus on the meditation part of it, I will go ahead and read. I won't make anyone else read today. Any questions before we begin? I think it's a pretty straightforward thing, and I think it'll make sense once we start the meditation, but I'm happy to answer any questions if you're curious about what we're doing.
So we're meant to be picturing ourselves in the scene and not trying to think too hard about
Correct.
specific words.
Yeah,
Do I have that right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. This is more emotional experience than it is a study. Which a Bible study is great, and we do it often. And this is just we're trying one thing that's a little bit different this week. That's a little more emotional. Okay, so this is Gospel of Luke, chapter 24, verses 13 through 35. That very day, the first day of the week, 2 of Jesus' disciples were going to a village 7 miles from Jerusalem called Emmaus. And they were conversing about all the things that had occurred. And it happened that while they were conversing and debating, Jesus himself drew near and walked with them. But their eyes were prevented from recognizing him. He asked them, "What are you discussing as you walk along?" They stopped, looking downcast. One of them, named Cleopas, said to him in reply, "Are you the only visitor to Jerusalem who does not know of the things that have taken place there in these days?" And he replied to them, "What sort of things?" They said to him, "The things that happened to Jesus the Nazarene, who was a prophet, mighty in deed and word before God and all the people. Our chief priests and rulers both handed him over to a sentence to death and crucified him. But we were hoping that he would be the one to redeem Israel. And besides all this, it is now the 3rd day since this took place. Some women from our group, however, have astounded us. They were at the tomb early in the morning and did not find his body. They came back and reported that they had seen a vision of angels who announced that he was alive. Then some of those who went with us to the tomb and found things just as the women had described, but him they did not see. And he said to them, "Oh, how foolish you are! How slow of heart to believe all that the prophets spoke! Was it not necessary that the Christ should suffer these things and enter into his glory?" Then, beginning with Moses and all the prophets, he interpreted to them what referred to him in all the scriptures. As they approached the village to which they were going, he gave the impression that he was going on further. But they urged him, "Stay with us, for it is nearly evening, and the day is almost over." So he went in to stay with them. And it happened that while he was with them at table, he took bread, said the blessing, broke it, and gave it to them. With that, their eyes were opened, and they recognized him. But he vanished from their sight. And they said to each other, "Were not our hearts burning within us while he spoke to us on the way and opened the scriptures to us?" So they set out at once and returned to Jerusalem, where they found gathered together the 11 and those with them who were saying, "The Lord has truly been raised and has appeared to Simon." Then the two accounted what had taken place on the way and how he was made known to them in the breaking of the bread. And now I'm going to, that was the passage. And now I'm going to take you through and just ask some questions, ask you to imagine some things in particular about this passage. Imagine the scene. Imagine the two disciples walking along the road. What does it look like? The day dry and hot, or cooler, even damp? Is the road in good shape, or is it in need of repair? What's along the side of the road? Crops, fallow fields, maybe houses? Can you see any hills or villages in the distance? What do the disciples look like? How are they dressed? Where are you in this scene? Are you one of the disciples? Or maybe there's 3 walking now, and you've joined the other 2. Whichever it is, imagine yourself there, walking down the road to Emmaus, talking about Jesus, the horrible things that happened to him, the promises he made before it all started, what the women who went to the tomb said. What are you feeling about it all? What are you talking about as you walk? What could it all mean? Perhaps as you discuss the grief, loss, and disappointment over what happened to Jesus, some of your own current loss and disappointment are coming up. You can mention that to the disciples as well if you'd like. You begin to realize that there is someone approaching from behind, a man. What does he look like? He seems happy to join your group and asks what you've been discussing. Notice his astonishment at your confusion over recent events. Listen carefully as he explains the connections between what Moses and the prophets said and what happened to Jesus. How do you feel as you listen? What is your reaction? How does it touch on your own current experiences of loss and disappointment? As you reach Emmaus, you urge him to stay with you and dine with you. Go to the inn with him and settle down at a table. Watch as the bread arrives, and he takes it. He blesses it, breaks it, and gives it to you. What happens inside you as you watch him? How do you react as you realize that it is Jesus? How do you feel? He disappears, and you turn to your companions. What do you say to each other? Talk with the other disciple or disciples about what just happened and how you feel. I invite you, if you'd like, to spend some time writing about that conversation or just playing it out in your head, thinking about all of the events that you just experienced in this story. Give yourself another minute or so just to wrap up your thoughts. And then we'll come back together and we'll have a chat. Anyone still writing, or is everyone good to talk? Okay, so that is an example of Ignatian contemplation. I'm curious, what did you all think of? I guess the first question is, did you feel like you were able to be part of the story?
Yes, I was one of the three walking,
Hmm.
I found
and of
my,
course came to us. Go ahead, Leslie. I'm done.
I found myself wishing that I could have been there, that I had experienced those things, that I had been walking on that dusty road
Hmm.
and had the experience of listening to Jesus recount, the words of the prophets.
Mm-hmm. How
And how
strange
they,
would it have been to not know that it was him?
There's a song, quite a bit older. I don't know if you would know who sang it, but what if God was one of us? It's not a church song at all.
yeah, she has really curly hair and a nose ring.
Yeah.
I'll come up with
I know
it.
it's a girl that sang it.
Yeah.
What if God was one of us, just a slob like one of us? But it's just like we wouldn't like, hey, what if so even then, even seeing Jesus, seeing him die, what if this is Jesus walking with me on the path? Like
I'm sorry, Bernadine, did I cut you off? Was there?
no, I was just thinking, I think it would be, not many of the disciples actually witnessed the crucifixion because they ran away. So I could see that they might not know or recognize that this was their savior, that the person that they were sort of living their lives for, that was speaking with them. But then to see him, even though he disappeared, how awesome.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
in a way, I feel sad. I would have felt sad walking down there. They were going to Emmaus, but they were like, it was almost like they were going home. Like, we're going here because what we thought was going to happen is done and not going to happen again. And so we're going home and we're going to do it. And all of a sudden, Jesus is there and they change their mind and they end up going back to Jerusalem. And I was just like, oh, something's going on. This man who's talking to us is telling us these things, and I think I just need to go back and talk with the rest of the disciples. And so they went back, and then all of a sudden they were with their community. And this is one of the things that David and I are reading what's called Sue Monk Kidd's book, God's Joyful Surprise, and it's all the last section that we're reading, the last half of the book, is all about different ways of praying. And this particular one idea is actually in one of the chapters. And so I was thinking this was really kind of impromptu because we're going to be doing something tonight. I don't know what we'll be talking about with the for EFM, but I just was thinking that this was really an interesting way to read the scriptures and to put yourself into it. And to me, when I was walking there, I was one of the three also. I was one of the, but I was looking around. I was looking at the scenery. I was seeing the trees and whatever kind of trees they have in Jerusalem, there. And I was seeing like the forest or whatever it was, and looking, because that's the one of the things I do. I look at around me. But I was thinking, I was sad, I was walking, I was doing this, and all of a sudden they changed their mind and they went back to Jerusalem. And I was thinking, oh, something triggered them to do that. Something was burning in their heart, that something was making me, oh, okay, I think I got to do this and get back to their community and be with them and discuss it. And that's how I felt. Just, but I was just like downtrodden and sad and everything. So, but I just thought that was that was a really interesting way. And so yeah.
I would feel the same way. I felt really sad in the beginning. I felt like it was 100-degree day. I could see mountains far away, but the rest was like a desert. There was just nothing to look at, which just made me more down.
Mm.
And I'm thinking, why didn't he come back? What's the deal? And for most of the walk, that's how I felt. But then hooked up with the other disciples, and then the third guy, which was Jesus, and all of a sudden starting to feel some comfort with him talking. And then went to eat. But then once he broke the bread and all, we knew who he was. I felt like I exploded and just had to run and tell everybody. That just was kind of all the gamut from really low to couldn't get any higher.
Yeah, this day is an emotional whiplash.
Yeah.
I sad as well, confusion, anxiety,
Mm.
and then once their eyes are open to see Jesus, complete astonishment first, and then lightness and joy, he's back.
Mm.
And I got to go tell the disciples. And it turns out, yeah, I'm back with where I should be.
Mm-hmm.
And the disciples are sitting under a tree. There's a light breeze.
Mm. I love hearing about the very different scenery that is in everyone's minds. And I wonder what that says about where all of us are in our own hearts right now, how that changes what we're looking at when we're reading the story.
Well, reading is one of my loves, and I've been really blessed that when I start reading, the pictures start in my head.
Mm. You're very blessed because not everyone can do that when they read.
Well, I understand that. So
I don't read because it's hard for me to read for a long time, but I do audiobooks constantly.
Yeah.
And I'm just like you. Everything is in my mind what's happening. It could have been on television. It's just you're right there. And sometimes I think I would rather listen to that than go watch TV. It's pretty cool.
and read the book, because lots of times the movie leaves out some of the stuff and some of the
Right.
subtleties that are going on.
Right.
Right. Yeah. Did being a character in the story help connect this story to anything that's going on in your own lives? And if the answer is no, that's okay. I'm just genuinely.
In a way, for me, I'm coming back and learning to walk with Jesus again.
It's lovely, Dawn.
For a lot of my life, that wasn't part of it. And now I'm beginning to try and walk that narrow path.
I think for me that my prime reaction, and I don't know, of course, exactly what the others were feeling, but I was feeling very afraid. In spite
Anxious.
of what I was, not just anxious, terrified for my own life. So I was running away to Emmaus, so I wasn't going to get killed. And then Jesus began to explain some things. And I began to get a glimmer of hope that this wasn't the complete destruction of everything I've been living for years, but that maybe this was in some way I still didn't understand meant to be. And so that gave me enough courage to go back and think maybe we should discuss this. Maybe we should think about this. Maybe maybe our understanding of what Jesus was supposed to be was entirely wrong. And so understanding with that, it gave me enough hope to go back and become part of the community. And that relates in some significant way to how I feel right now. So I'll just leave that there.
I can certainly see that, David. And I think one of the benefits of reading scripture in this way is I think many of us know this story and we know the ending. And so, especially because we read it during the Easter season, it's very easy to skip to the happy part because Easter is a happy season and we're supposed to be happy. And I think the idea that even when we know the ending, we can still be terrified or still feel a little hopeless because things are not all right now, even if we know that they will be someday. I think there's value in that because I don't think it helps anyone to pretend we're happy when things don't feel happy. So I know that's for me, that's why slowing down and reading the story and settling into the uncomfortable parts of it is helpful for me when I do this kind of thing.
I couldn't get myself in the story because
Okay.
I kept thinking they're impossibly male. And like, I don't want to be a woman out on that road with these things. I just don't.
Yeah.
And then I also,
No, I wasn't female. I was male.
yeah, I couldn't get there. So I kept being like, I'm in a house, like peeking out a window, watching them kind of, but I couldn't get myself there because they just felt impossibly male and scary and impossibly young. I just kept thinking how young all these people were. And just, because I was trying to imagine the conversation between these two young men and like probably like sad, but also like gossipy and just the way early 20 boys talk. I could picture that. And then I tried to get my mid-50s lady in there and I couldn't get rid of that part of my identity enough to be there. And so, yeah, but it was very useful, just that idea that like your whole world is like ended and that good's not winning.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I just watched too many Disney movies because I just keep expecting like good should be winning.
Mm-hmm.
And when good's not winning, I get very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And it kind of related to this idea for them. And then I also really like this idea, like I think all of us have like met someone who's somehow charismatic or you're like, oh, I kind of want that person to stick around for whatever reason. Like they have a nice face. I feel comfortable around them. Like this is someone we should invite with us. And just feeling like, oh, you should come with us to dinner. And it was like there's that idea Jesus would have that quality. Like, you wouldn't know exactly why, but you should probably come with us.
Compelling.
Yeah, compelling, charismatic, something attractive. It like I mean physically,
Yeah. Like, it's attracting you to that.
yeah,
like,
something like Cynthia Bourgeois in her books always talks about there must have been some kind of knowing when you were near him. There must have been something about him. You're like, oh, I see that. Whatever, even if you can't identify what that is. So I was thinking about that. But yeah, unlike you guys, I couldn't let go of my own identity enough to get myself in that. I'm like, I don't want to be with these guys on this road. I gotta go home.
That's a very good point because road out in the middle of nowhere would be very dangerous for
a woman on her own.
Yeah,
because they're not my husband. They're not my brother. I don't know these guys. They're young. They're mad and sad. I don't want to be anywhere near them. So yeah, I don't know if that was helpful or not, but that was my experience.
That's absolutely fair. And Wilda Gaffney, I don't know, are you familiar with her?
I don't think so.
She has a book called Womanist Midrash, where
I've heard this book title, yeah.
She does this sort of thing. She doesn't call it Ignatian Contemplation. She calls it sanctified imagination. And she does this thing with stories that are mostly women in the Bible. And so I wonder if some of the stories that she chooses might work better for you to enter into a little easier.
I mean, it's funny because it's in my imagination. I could have been whoever I wanted, but I wasn't.
Oh my goodness.
I was thinking about when I was contemplating and looking at all what was going on. I was trying to put myself in the role of the women that went to the tomb, because he was hot. Because you don't necessarily have to be one of the people walking, but for some reason, I love to walk, and
Yeah.
I used to love to go for walks and stuff like that. And to me, I can put myself in the store. I may not be able to walk very far now, but I could put myself in the story and walk for miles. So
Mhm.
so it was so I had to be one of the walkers.
Yeah.
I love that.
Um, yeah, this story, because it's a couple characters and they're in motion, it's kind of hard to take on more different roles.
Mhm.
But there are certainly others where if Jesus is in a crowd,
Mhm.
it's a little easier to be one of many different types of people. So I do think this generally is easier with Gospels. There are some Hebrew Bible stories that work for it. I wouldn't recommend the epistles, but right with other things.
I've read a lot of Gospels, but I've never had, how can I explain this? Got so much out of one is like being there yourself.
Hmm.
It was a really kind of a neat thing. I want to try to do that some more.
Yeah, and if you all enjoyed this, it's something that I don't think it's something we would do every week in Bible study, but periodically we can
I love that.
do a little reflection like this.
I'd like that.
I would too, because I find myself to be in a phase of life where I am constantly trying to, get closer to
Mhm.
God. And this helps.
I'm glad to hear that.
I think the
Definitely.
stories. Oh, sorry. I think the story has so much more emotional impact when you remember they don't know how it ends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Because we're like, okay, I think too, because we are supposed to memorize facts about Jesus. And like, he rose, he did this, he did this. But like they did not know.
Mhm.
Like their whole world had ended and they have no safety, no security, no plan B. Right? And they have no idea how. And when you can put yourself in that moment,
Mhm.
I just feel like the story has so much more weight, at least for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
One of the most compelling stories to me in the whole Bible is while Moses is up there getting the Ten Commandments, everyone else is at the base of the mountain and they think he's never coming back. And so they start worshiping a calf. And we think that's silly because we know he's coming back. But I love to imagine what was it like that you've just been led away from everything that you ever know. The guy who led you there is gone in a cloud on the top of the mountain. It makes sense that you would try to tip the scales a little bit in your favor.
I can't believe the faith those people had to have to just be wandering around forever. And it just said no.
Mhm.
But is it faith?
Yeah.
Just
I think,
hopelessness, nothing else?
no, I was saying that I think the way I look at scriptures, it's the way I look at the Bible is it was written for people in a primary and oral culture. It was told to them, they recited it, they put themselves in the places of these people almost naturally. That's the function to live these stories out, to try to understand God through what the people that had gone before had experienced. So yeah, I think there's great value in putting ourselves in these kind of places where we're trying to imagine that, yeah, we were there. It's a little tough. You don't understand all that's going on, but we don't understand really what they're feeling. We just have to use our imaginations and do that. But yeah, yeah, I think it serves the purpose of the gospel very well. The fact that to relive the stories in our own lives.
Yeah.
And I also think God speaks to us in what we are feeling, even if it wouldn't be exactly the same as what the characters would have originally been feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Who's not to say that we wouldn't have felt how we would have felt if we were there? Maybe that's the way we would have felt. It's hard to.
Mhm. That's so true, David, because have any of us had to have to literally run for our lives? I mean, these people had the Romans were notoriously cruel. I mean, to be that scared and uncertain. Oh, it's terrifying.
I just think about the the Hispanics and those in our culture now, how
Exactly.
they're scared, they're frightened. They they don't want to walk to the grocery store. They want to stay home and buckle down. So it's just we don't know what it's like as a white people, but right now, I mean, I feel sad for all of those who are being tormented to me and then running away. So
And for the Romans, persecution or crucifixion was specifically designed to be terrifying.
Mhm.
That was its purpose. If they perceived that someone was some kind of a threat, they would crucify them so that it would scare their followers away. In a situation where there wasn't actually a revolt, where people hadn't actually done anything, they would crucify the leader. And then they would let the followers go because they knew they'd be terrified and they'd spread the word, their terror. If they hadn't actually participated in a revolution. If they participated in a revolution, then they just put them all to the sword. This was specifically designed to scare people off. And there's not much worse way to die than crucifixion because you slowly suffocate. Yeah.
Right.
Vlad the Impaler.
Well, on that note, I'm going to end our recording.